G'day, Bomber fans. Well, the winning streak had to come to an end at some stage, and unfortunately it was a home game at Windy Hill against the winless Cats. The Bombers have now lost their spot in the top four. They've lost their unbeaten record, and to add insult to injury, or I guess there are injuries. So yeah, let's talk about what was in the end a pretty poor game of footy. Here is the round 4 AFLW review. Remember to leave your votes in the comments below with the role player attached. Quarter by quarter recap. The first, you could see it straight away which team came to play. The Cats were hot, we were not. They kicked the first 2 goals. They had all the play. They were the ones really judging the conditions better. There was a horrendous breeze going all over the place at Windy Hill. It really was Windy Hill. But yeah, you could tell straight away it was going to be a long game. They were killing us in the midfield, which is our strong suit. We did kick a goal from a lucky free kick to Georgia G, but the Cats, they had 7 scoring shots. We had 1. They were wasteful and only led by under 2 goals at quarter time. The second, I was expecting a fast recovery. I was expecting a Natalie Wood rev up an improved performance, but yeah, the Cats came out and kicked a goal in the first 50 seconds. They almost had another a minute later, and that's honestly where I knew the game was probably lost. Like Georgia G did bob up again for a goal thanks to a 50-meter penalty, but again, the Cats had all the play. They were really dominating. It was 11 scoring shots to 2 at halftime. We trailed by 19 points. The third, it felt like the game really opened up. Both teams were getting more chances. The Cats got the first 2 goals, really ballooned that lead out, but we did manage to wrestle back momentum and get the game back on our terms a bit more. The issue was we weren't finishing our chances. So Grace Bellany got one from the goal square, but it was the only goal we'd kick for the quarter despite having a lot of the play. And yeah, the Cats, they held a 23-point lead, which was always going to be way too hard to overcome in one quarter of footy. The final term, yeah, the Cats just cruised. Unfortunately, there were some injury worries, which I'll talk about in a bit for both teams. But yeah, there were only 2 goals in the fourth, one from Maddie Prasparkas, one from her sister Georgie Prasparkas. The family was well represented yesterday. But no, the Cats cruised out to a 31-point win. A big win for their season. They keep it alive, but it was a big loss for the Bombers, so let's chat about it. Yeah, this was a big loss. I went into the game thinking that the Bombers were underdogs. We were, based on the bookies, we were the underdogs. But I thought it would be a bit tighter than it was. Like, even with the injuries to the forward line that we have, it shouldn't have been as cruisy as it was for the Cats. And in the end, it was just a really strong midfield presence that got the job done for them, matched by elite pressure in the forward half mainly. We actually won the clearance battle, but they were getting really good ones. They killed us in centre clearances, which mean a lot more with the 6-6-6 rules. It was 10-4 in centre clearances. They smashed us in contested possessions and uncontested possessions. They had so much more of the footy. We were lucky, that we were clinical at times. 7 shots from 21 entries isn't that bad considering our forward line's decimated by injuries. But when you go to the opponents who have 44 inside 50s, that's 44 to 21. Yeah, you've got less than half of your opposition's entries. It's just not going to work. In the end, they dominated us. Like, they were clearly the better team. Honestly, it probably should have been a bigger margin. I thought the Cats were wasting chances, missing shots from directly in front. They were keeping us in the game for longer than we should have been in it. 31 points feels generous to me. Our backline was holding up okay, but the ball was just living down there pretty much the whole game. It felt like, was it a flat performance? I think a big part of it was just how intense the Cats were. They were playing really hard footy out there. It was a great performance from them. It did feel a bit flat from the Bombers. I don't know if it was the Darwin trip that really, cemented that, but it did feel like we were a bit flatter than we usually are. I think if I'm looking at this game in the bigger picture with, the context of the rest of the season in mind, I'm probably saying if this game tells us more about either team, it probably tells us more about Geelong than it does Essendon. I thought the Cats, they'd lost their first 3 games of the season. They were winless going into this game, but all of them were against tough opponents, and then they play someone more in their range, the Bombers, and they smash us. I think the Cats are a really good side, and their win-loss tally doesn't really reflect that. They were able to finally show just how good they were, and I think if we are full strength, it's a closer game. Like, realistically, we've got some big injuries, but I don't think we're a better team than Geelong right now, and that was proven by this loss. We really did look a lot worse out there, but I think this was a good learning experience for the season, because we get those 3 wins to start. We're up and about, up the top of the ladder, on top of the world, but this is a big reality check. We haven't even really played the toughest teams yet, and we've been shown we have a long way to go still to not only make finals, but make a dent in finals. We do have players returning eventually, which is good. We were without Too Good this week. Bannister, Gay, Brown, they'll come back eventually, hopefully. You had that trip to Darwin, which clearly took it out of the group a bit. We looked a lot less fit than usual, in my opinion. So yeah, quite a few things to work out before our next game. And look, obviously a win would have been ideal. That would have been the ideal option. But I think given we're locked inside the top 8 for now, it's our first loss of the season. We've got a couple more winnable games coming up. I think a reality check is probably what the club needs. It gives us a chance to reset and re-energise. It was also good to get some more names out there. Sophie Strong made her debut. That's the 5th this year. We also saw Steph Wales return from a 10-month ACL, and she was great. I'm really excited to see what she does with more footy under the belt this year. Now, some bad news before we get on to the end of the review. We've got a couple more injury concerns. Well, actually, for starters, Daria Bannister had surgery on her hand after last week's game. I didn't touch on that because it wasn't news straight away. So the club is hoping she returns soon, but that's just another injury. You've got, Bannister and Bonnie Toogood out of the forward line. It was really just Sophie Alexander and Georgia G up there. You've got more out of this game, though. First of all, Brooke Walker, really important player. She was tackled over the boundary line. I don't know if it was her knee buckling, or maybe it was the fact it was dug into the turf, but she looked worse for wear as she hobbled off the ground and took no further part in the game. The club is hopeful it's not ACL, but there will be scans soon to see what is happening there. Unfortunately, our co-captain a bit later, or our only captain out there in the game, Steph Kane, also came from the ground with a knee injury. She took no further part in the game. Again, the club is hopeful it isn't ACL, but scans will confirm the severity. So yeah, unfortunately, that is the injury list growing a bit. As I said earlier, there are some names set to return. Bonnie Toogood is back from suspension next week for a big game, so that'll really help. But yeah, we can't really keep losing players, especially players like Kane and Walker, who are really important to our system. But yeah, all in all, it was a loss. It was a bad loss, I'd say, and it was a bad loss soured by some important injuries. I don't think it's end of the world type stuff. We're going to wait and see the severity of not only the injuries but the club's morale after the loss. It does make a bad loss even worse, but I think the club's in a good spot. In the top 8 still. Some good games coming up, some winnable games, which I'll talk about in a second. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. It was a really good start to the year, and we needed a reality check eventually, so let's get on to the votes. Alright, before we get into the votes from this match, here is the tally post round 3, so tallied after the GWS game. You've got Georgia Nanscorn out in front. She has 12 votes. She is also, by the way, leading the AFLCA votes for the whole competition, so she is, at the moment, the MVP in the AFL, which is awesome. Behind her in this award is Maddie Prespakis, and not too far behind her, you've got 2 players tied in Amy Gaylor and Bonnie Toogood. Both have 5 votes. And then from there, it is absolute logjam city. There are about 900 players on 2 votes or less. And votes from this game, you've got 1 to Maddie Prespakis. She really got going as the game went along. Slow start, but 26 touches, a goal. Really got to work as the game went along. 2 votes to Steph Wales on her return game. She did not look like someone who'd missed 10 months with a knee injury. She was great. 17 touches, 11 hit-outs. Was a great presence in the air. We really missed her out there, and it's going to be good to have her for the rest of the season. But 3 votes again to Georgia Nanscorn. She is having some sort of year. She was unbelievable out there. 32 touches, 15 hit-outs, 15 tackles, sorry. Probably another 3 Brownlow votes. She is a genuine contender for that award. She could well win it if she keeps this up. The role player, I've given it to Mia Bush. I liked her. She was hard at it. She defended well for the most part. A few mistakes, but really played her role well, and she was one of our best defenders while the ball was living in our D50. A few I could have given votes, but those are mine. Leave yours in the comments below. And next week's game, we take on St Kilda again at home at Windy Hill. Back-to-back games there, which is good. This game is again on a Sunday, so families can get out to it. We take on the Saints. They have played 4 games and have 3 losses. We've played 4 games and have 3 wins. We are 7th on the ladder. They are 5th or 14th on the ladder. We've gone down a bit after taking a bit of a chunk out of our percentage in that Geelong loss, while the Saints, they've dipped on the ladder and they're only just outside the bottom 4. They've had some tough games, to be fair. They lost badly to the Hawks. They were smashed by the Demons as well. At their best, they're pretty damn good. They beat the Adelaide Crows in round 1 convincingly, one of the best teams in the comp. So, yeah, interesting game. Any St Kilda team can turn up. Any Essendon team can turn up. I think no matter what, this game, I think it's a must-win. We got some really tough games coming up around the corner. I think this is now a must-win for the Bombers. If we go 4-1, we are set for a big few weeks with plenty of wriggle room. And if we go 3-2, back-to-back losses with games against North Melbourne and Melbourne over the horizon, the race to finals could get really, really iffy. So yeah, massive game next Sunday for the Bombers. Tune into it. I think we win it. I think we're the better team in this matchup. Hopefully I am proven right. But that is that. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Yeah, not a great game. But, it was a good start to the year, but everything good comes to an end at some stage. The Bombers lost pretty badly in the end to Geelong. Let's hope we get a response next week against St Kilda, and this time next week we're a bit happier with our review. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and as always, go Bombers.